Hey, thanks for joining me again as we continue to walk through the book of Proverbs together. Proverbs chapter 4 is where we are, and I want to draw your attention to Proverbs chapter 4, verse 7. It says, "The beginning of wisdom is this, get wisdom." It sounds pretty basic, but here's what the writer is telling us. If we are to be truly wise people, we must get wisdom. We must pursue it with everything that we have. He goes on to describe it like this, that we have to boldly decide what path we will walk down. And there's only two options, the path of the wicked or the path of the righteous. And he goes on to say in verse 18 that the path of the righteous is like the light of the dawn, which shines brighter and brighter until the full day. So if you boldly decide, I'm going to walk in the path of righteousness, hear that promise that you will grow brighter and brighter and brighter until the fullness of day. But the way of the wicked, it says in verse 19, is like a deep darkness, get darker and darker and darker, and they do not know over what they stumble. And so how do we walk this path? Is this a bold decisiveness as though we decide to follow this philosophy? Here's what I mean by that. I recently listened to Benjamin Franklin's autobiography, and something that struck me was as he tried to live a moral life, which is a good thing, he said he was going to pursue living according to the teachings of Jesus and Socrates and some other philosophers that he really respected. But that is not what true wisdom is. It's not picking and choosing and cherry picking who you will follow. No, to truly be wise, there is only one way. There is only one path. Now follow along with me here. In verse 6 of chapter 4, it says, "Do not forsake her," talking about wisdom, "and she will keep you. Love her, and she will guard you." And here's what I want you to see. That the language that is being used here in verse 6 about getting wisdom and walking that path is a picture of a relationship. To pursue wisdom, to love her, and she will guard you. And so here's what this means, that in order to get wisdom, we must have a relationship with wisdom. And you say, how will that be? Well, wisdom is far more than just a philosophy. It's a person. The Bible even tells us that in 1 Corinthians 1:30, it says that God has given us wisdom in Jesus Christ, that he is the wisdom of God for us. And so here's the deal. In order to get wisdom, we must be in a relationship with wisdom. In order to be in a relationship with wisdom, we must be in a relationship with Jesus Christ. And so are you in a relationship with Jesus? And if you are, you're beginning to see that wisdom is not just a matter of brain power, but it's a matter of being in a relationship with the one who is the wisdom of God to us, which is Jesus. Now watch this. Look at verse 23. So how do you keep from stumbling? How do you keep from straying? Verse 23, it says, "Keep your heart with all vigilance, for from it flows the springs of life." And so walking in wisdom, walking in this path is a matter of the heart. Has Jesus changed your heart? If he has, he is transforming you from one degree of glory to the next so that you are growing brighter and brighter until the full day, until you are glorified. So wisdom is a matter of the heart. It's a heart change. It makes me wonder if Jesus was thinking of Proverbs 4:23, when he says in John 7:38, I believe, it says, "If you believe in me, out of your heart will flow springs of life." And so here's what this means, that this abundant life, that this joyful life, this wise life, isn't a matter of circumstances flowing into us and affecting us. It's a matter of our hearts being changed and life flowing out of us, where we are these life-giving agents because we have been changed by the giver of life. And so wisdom is not dependent upon your circumstances, it's dependent upon your heart. It's out of your heart. Has Jesus changed your heart? I was challenged by this in one commentary on the book of Proverbs. It says this, Jesus is wisdom, righteousness, and sanctification for us. He is the way, truth, and the life. Wisdom is found in Jesus and in walking with him. That's what we just said. If part of your life is moving into foolishness, that foolish path we hear about in chapter 4, verse 19, that's not just dangerous because of the temporal consequences that you may face. That's dangerous because it reveals that you are moving away from Jesus. So here's what he's saying. If you're not walking in wisdom, you're moving away from Jesus. You can have an amazing quiet time, this author says, but if you can't control your tongue, you've got a problem with Jesus. You can raise your hand during worship songs, but if you can't clean your room when your mother asked you, you have a problem with Jesus. You can be in 3 different Bible studies throughout the week, but if you nag your husband constantly or wife, you have a problem with Jesus. You can teach a Bible study class every week, but if you can't take the trash out for your wife, it reveals you have a problem with Jesus. Jesus is concerned with every area of your life. And if you have areas of foolishness in your life, you are walking away from Jesus. And so let that sit on you today. That wisdom comes from the heart. And if you are walking in a way that is foolish, it matters, even in areas that may seem insignificant to you. And it matters because it reveals that you're walking away from wisdom. And if Jesus is wisdom, you're walking away from Jesus and the path that he has laid out for you. So will you get wisdom? You can ask that another way is, will you walk with Jesus today?